actually did not run away from that. He had to face that. So he refused to run away. He watched the catastrophe flow, and he put down his life for the sheep. It is said that he kept telling his brother bishops, this is what he said, I quote, "We must see the hand of God in this." He saw God's hand in everything that was happening in those days before his murder. That is something that we are celebrating. That is something for us to emulate. The kind of faith, the kind of hope, the kind of resilience that this man exhibited during his time as an archbishop.
Yeah. One of the things that I think the Archbishop stated earlier on this year was the theme of the year as a Church of Uganda, and that was hope beyond affliction. And I see there is some sort of correlation there, because there has been affliction. There is COVID that has been happening. We were afflicted then. Some people are still being afflicted now. We have lost people and whatnot. But in terms of today, what doesn't this theme still ring true today as it did then during Jan and Luwum's time?
Yeah, I think first of all I want to thank the Archbishop and his group for choosing this theme. Actually, when my Minister of State for Ethics and Integrity presented the cabinet information paper to cabinet in the State House, at first the theme was hope amidst hopelessness, and the question that we no longer live in a hopelessness situation. That was during that past time.
Yeah.
But I think they didn't get it well. But I want to tell you that this is a relevant theme, and it still rhymes well with the day. First of all, we need to understand Scripture is very clear as far as affliction is concerned. Even though a believer is very faithful, as Luwum was, and has been living in holiness, he can still go through trials and afflictions. So the Bible says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Rather than looking at it as a curse, we should look at affliction as a blessing. Because why it is a blessing, it helps our faith to grow. It helps our faith to go. It builds our character and our endurance. Many times afflictions result into testimony, especially when people backslide. Yes. Because you see, there are times when a Christian suffers affliction because of backsliding. So God allows this to bring us back to Him. Why? Because He wants all the time to be on the right track. Just as the Father disciplines His children, so God also disciplines us, because He doesn't want us to go astray. So affliction should never bring someone into despair. It does not last. You use it for your own benefit. So I want to link this affliction theme with the commemoration, with the celebration of Jan and Luwum's life.
Yeah.
There was affliction in Uganda. That time, the situation, the political situation, the religious situation, the economic situation, because even declared the economic war in 1975. I was in senior 4. That means that so when you declare an economic war, that means you are declaring a war against the economy. And this is what happened. It completely was destroyed. So with that kind of uncertainty, that dark history, which was actually an experience of affliction, the same appears even today, as you said, COVID-19, domestic violence, early pregnancies of children, riots in town, protests in parliament, name them. You see, there are so many things that surround our nation now, which sometimes we don't want to speak out. But I think the same situation that confronted Janani Luwum and at his time, and the same situation, it's actually, we need hope beyond affliction. I think, as I said, because affliction will actually help us. It will help us to pray more. It will help us to fast. We shall use it to pray more. We shall use it to fast. We shall use it to study the Bible more. But we shall use it to help and encourage and inspire others other believers. I think that's, to me, that is, and exactly therefore what happened to Janani Luwum, his death should be used to inspire other leaders who are in church and also in government.
Also in government, yeah.
It should be used for people to read the Bible more, so that they can be faithful, so that they can stand the faith in the midst of affliction. It should be used actually to fast, actually. That is very important. And to me, in other words, the theme rhymes and rings well with the situation during Janani Luwum's time.
To talk about affliction a little bit more,
Yes.
Most of us might be young,
Yes.
and might not understand the kind of affliction
Yes.
that Janani Luwum faced then in Amin's regime.
Yes.
I know you've hinted a little bit about it. You
Yes.
talked about the economic war and whatnot, but I'm sure there were particular vices that the President Amin had then. And for someone who was there, and I mean, as for, yeah, you understand the things that are happening. For someone who was there, help us paint a picture of what was happening so that we get it. Because most of us can be like, no, but what affliction was there? We might not understand fully well the extent or the affliction that Janani Luwum had to face to get hope at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. Idi Amin became a president in 1971 in January and left power in 1979. I was in P7. Actually, when he became a president, he visited our place. He was so cunning. There were people whom President Obote had arrested, and some of them came from my home area, like Ugresi, Vingira, like. So he had to remove them from prison, and then he brought them to his people for them to see. Now, when he came to a place, I recall vividly in 1971 when I was in P7, I spoke on behalf of the school, and I made a citation about Idi Amin. I recall vividly, people don't forget. My headmaster by then and my P7 teacher wrote something which I had to memorize. And we gave Idi Amin in 1971 April a ram, and it was a white ram.
Okay.
And I said these words I want you to hear. Your Excellency, the President of the Second Republic of Uganda, I present you this ram. The white skin of the sheep symbolizes the unstained reputation of your government. The sheep is a strong, brave, and resistant animal like your government of action, which is trying to preserve and prevent and defend the integrity of Uganda from external. Now I want you to tell you. The words were so nice, painting a very good picture, but the opposite of what I said, I recall vividly, is what I saw as you were saying.
Yeah.
There was brutality, killing of people in broad daylight, firing squads. He himself, could get a gun, put people on a tree or somewhere, and then he shoots in broad daylight. So the kind of situation, both political, not actually social, political, economic, and religious, it was totally broken down. I want to tell you there was chaos, political chaos, there was religious chaos. That is why our Archbishop had today, because I think if you are not aware, killing an Archbishop, Janani Luwum was the first Archbishop in the Anglican Communion to die in office. After Thomas Cranmer in 1556, I want you to imagine from 1556 AD to 1977. Cranmer died in England in office, Bishop Cranmer, Thomas Cranmer. Now, Archbishop Janani Luwum died in 1970, but in Uganda, in the whole of African continent, first Anglican. So that showed you the rule of terror. That shows you the tyranny that existed in the time.
And I read somewhere that he was Archbishop of Uganda,
Rwanda, Boga Zaire. Yes, he was the Archbishop of Uganda, Boga Zaire. So you see, this gentleman who could not fear to kill an Archbishop, the head of a faith in a country. He was very tyrannical. Now, when it comes to economy, as I told you, in 1975 there was the economic was declared in Tata. So we started Magendo. If you hear Magendo, some of you young people don't know.
We really don't.
And things were not there. And only a few people could be having money, and they were actually, whatever they got in businesses they could hold. There was holding of sugar, of salt, of soap. You couldn't get a soap, to get a bar of soap, to get sugar, to get, it was not very easy. And people would use it to buy them. So you bring them in your shop, you put them aside, and you sell to individuals, those who have big money. So the scarcity of resources. Now the Tower of Knowledge, Makerere University, was attacked. Kalimuzo was murdered, the vice chancellor. You see, you can imagine even murdering an archbishop and the vice chancellor of Makerere University. So you are destroying the intellectual part of society. You are destroying the religious. So you see that kind of situation. Now, when you hear this current regime saying that we come to liberate Ugandans against oppression, against tyranny, I think somehow they are right. When you see things now happening, like riots, I was talking like arrests and what have you. Yes, these are there. Yes, sometimes they come because of its law in place. Because once they put in the law in place, it has to work. But I think you don't experience such a tyrannical moments that we experienced during Idi Amin's time. People dying in broad daylight, their property being confiscated. So they come and take your property. There's nothing much you can do. You speak your. So in other words, what existed there was scarcity of resources. There were even actually basic needs were not there, and people who survived, it was by the grace of God.
And this was what Janani Luwum was trying to speak.
That is what was
about.
That is why he said that if I'm to die, I have to die here. I cannot run away from my people. I can't run away from the faith that I believe, the Christ whom I believe. When I die, I die. And you know very much that I think it was Tertullian in the 2nd century who said that the blood of the martyr is the seed of the church. So when he died, you see what is happening? The church has grown. So the blood of Janani Luwum became the seed of the church in Uganda. In terms of development, a seed in terms of development, in terms of increasing of resources and even infrastructure, bishops, dioceses, churches and parishes. You see, the Church of Uganda now has grown. When it was in 1977, when he died, it was very small compared to what it is now. The church house here, which is named after him, really, it was his dream. This is actually a fruit of his labor. For your own information, when I was a provincial secretary, I actually even worked very hard for this building to come into place, because I know I sold that idea to my Archbishop, by then Archbishop Lukorombi, to use get means of how we can construct this. But one thing I want to tell you, it was his dream. So the blood of the martyr. So when someone dies because of his faith, like Archbishop, it actually helps the society. So I want to tell you that I have no words between me and you to describe the regime of Idi Amin. Maybe if I'm a good scholar and I do a critique, not criticizing but critiquing his regime, I can say that during his time he was able to defeat colorism. That's very important, because nobody would enter someone's house at night and broke into it and steal. No, not during Amin time. Because they knew that if you kill, you steal, you'll be killed. So that's very important. Today, you steal, they get you, they put you in court, you are released on bail. Following morning, you're going to steal. But for his case,
they get you,
kill you. So colorism was reduced. That's a positive aspect. But of course, another thing that people say was sending away the Indians from Uganda and giving the the business and economy into the hands of Ugandans. But you see, as much as that was good, fighting colonialism on the basis of eliminating colonialism or outsiders to be in charge of our economy, but the Ugandans were not even ready to take over the economy. They didn't have the skills.
They didn't have the skills, the knowledge.
They didn't have the knowledge, so the economy actually was it crumbled completely. That is why when this government actually in 1986 took over power, where we came from, you can't believe it was in that time. Some of us who were old and who existed during Obote 1, Obote 2, now Museveni's time. So that is one thing we need to know. There's a lot that has when we see things like you at your age, you see for you are President Museveni's sons and daughters. There's nothing much you have seen with other presidents, so you can't compare notes. And therefore that's why you are also the youth is calling for change. We need change because we need to see another president. And you're right, on the other hand. But some of us who are old, we say change for what? Because if the environment is still friendly and conducive, what we need to see is our resources being distributed equally. Now that is what we should do. If it is not done equally, then we should put there a mechanism or means to distribute resources equally. So we actually put a framework in place and so there is nothing. In other words, people now have freedom of worship, they have freedom of expression. Churches have been built, although the freedom of worship has been abused, you know that?
Yes.
You see, the Constitution is very clear. Article 29 of the Constitution gives freedom of worship and freedom of expression. But that freedom has been abused. Why? Because as much as the government put that Constitution and that article in place, it did not put in place means or a mechanism how this freedom should be exercised. You see, that's very important. So and if you read that Constitution at the end of it, by the way, as it ends, the article, the clause says that as you exercise this freedom, it must be consistent within the law. So which means the freedom is not free, but the freedom has been abused by many people. People dream at night and they wake up and start churches. Some of them, they are actually, there's a lot of exploitation, there's a lot of manipulation of the community, which I think we should defeat as we relate St. John and Luwum, because I don't want to detach myself from the discussion on the relevance of St. John and Luwum. I don't think that his faith or his calling was meant to exploit and to manipulate the populace in order to enrich himself and to enrich his family. Now today is a different story. You find this, some of the clergymen, some pastors and what have you. Actually there is now a lot of divorce among the pastors. Pastors are divorcing. Yesterday I got a message from New Vision. I'm sorry if I'm digressing, but this is very important as a director of religious affairs. New Vision rings me. What are you going to do as religious affairs to stop divorce among the pastors in the Pentecostal churches? There's a lot of divorce going on. So, and you know that is a very bad indicator that you show to the youth and the people who are followers. So I think for him, he wanted harmony, he wanted peace, he wanted people he wanted unity in diversity. As I told you, his life was actually, he was a hero. As I said, he was a hero. Janani was a hero who promoted the norm of forgiveness and reconciliation, not only between Christians, but among all people worldwide. And that is why the Church of Canterbury, which is not in Uganda, was the first one to remember him and to build a statue at Westminster Abbey for remembrance, which still exists. Now we are trying to put in place a way of how we can improve the site where he was buried at Muchwini in Kitgum, which we have not done so far. The area has been cleared, the survey has been done, and land now belongs to the Church of Uganda. But we now looking for resources, the government and the church, of how we can put our effort together to make it a very attractive place, a place that can attract tourists, a place that where you can go and pray and have quiet time with your family, and remember the death and the life of this great matter. But I think England is ahead of us
in that regard. Reverend Canon, as we come towards the end, today we are at Kololo, and I know that one of the things that one of the people that will be there is the Archbishop, yourself, and also the President. What are some of the things that we need to look out for even as we celebrate at Kololo today?
Good. Number one, first of all, as the theme says, hope beyond affliction. As a country, we need to know that if you want to build strong people, if you want to build a strong army, like in government, or a strong army even in the church, because priests and pastors are armies of the Lord, affliction is something that we should learn from. As a lesson for this country, the death of Janani Luwum, because he died in the midst of affliction, should give us the hope as a country that we can actually become strong if we unite. We need unity, first of all. Now, Uganda is made up of many tribes, many religious groups, faith groups. Now, therefore, in fact, I can recall Mamudan. He said that Uganda is not a nation, Professor Mamudan. It is a group of tribes forced to live together. But we should remember that as a result of the death of Janani Luwum, who was promoting reconciliation, forgiveness, and unity, one important thing is unity as a country. If we are united, we disregard tribe, and I think I like the NRM on that. The ideology of NRM is non-sectarianism. Very important. Democracy and non-sectarianism. If we could disregard that using our faith platforms, using our political platforms, and we disregard tribes, we disregard religious bigotry, because let me tell you, religion is something that is divisive in this country. You may find that some people are Catholics, they don't want to associate with Anglicans. Interreligious council, yes, is there, but sometimes it has objectives. But when it comes to working together as a group, as one,